What's up, my dudes? Here to talk today about unconditional love. Um, I've I've tried to record this video a couple of times to say all that I want to say, and I keep getting off track because I have three friends, three different situations, but have similar circumstances, similar things that I want to talk about. Um, because I'd like to sit down and have conversations with each of them. I've had light conversations, but it's an awkward conversation to have with somebody who, they're having issues with their partner. They're not sure where to go. It's kind of embarrassing to talk about, hey, my partner's cheating on me. It makes you feel like less of a person, for a lot of people. So it's not something that you're necessarily proud of, not something that's easy to talk about. So I want to give my thoughts on the situations. And in the past 5-6 tries that I've done, I've started going into too much detail about the specific situation. So I'm trying to step that back for each of them and for everyone else that might be going through this. But unconditional love. So let's start with words, thoughts, and actions. The person that you are is what's going to determine who's around you. The friends you have, the family that you spend time with, the where you work, the relationships, all relationships that you have, whether intimate or not. That is going to be your circle of influence. It's going to be the people you spend a lot of time around. You have a threshold for things that you like, things that you don't like, things that you find completely unacceptable, etc. And within that threshold will determine where you allow yourself to fit in, or if you decide to move on from situations. So as far as who you are when you get into an intimate relationship with somebody, before even having kids, before whatever, you say, these are the activities that I enjoy. These are the things that I find acceptable for a life well lived. I like to, whether you like to be outside or you like to stay inside, whether you like sports, you don't like sports, whether you like working out or you don't like working out, whether you eat healthy or not, whether you go to church or you have a spiritual practice or you meditate or you do yoga or whatever it is that you do, all the different levels of you, the threshold of you, in all these different categories will determine who you're going to get into a relationship with, because like attracts like. If you are into, like me, for example, I live a healthy lifestyle. I take care of myself. I work on my mental, emotional, spiritual health. If I'm taking care of myself in these areas as I see fit, as I see, I call the things that I do taking care of myself in these areas. I'm going to find somebody who has a similar viewpoint in those areas. Even if it's not the exact same, it's going to be within that threshold. So as I weigh out the pros and cons, and a lot of this is subconscious, depending on where I put emphasis, if I'm putting all my emphasis on sexual stuff, I'm going to be like, damn, that girl has a fat booty. She checks the category, right? So within that threshold of what I've decided is important in that area, I'm going to be like, okay, you make it. So if my focus is on financial, like, okay, this girl takes care of her finances, she's responsible with her money. She saves money. She has a good job. She has a career. She's going somewhere. She sees what she wants for the future. She has a vision, or she's working towards whatever it is. If that's important to me, I'm gonna be like, okay, I like it. You're good to go. So if it's spiritual, if it's mental, like you have the threshold. So who you are, how you think about things, the things that are important to you are what is going to determine what is acceptable. Over time, in all our relationships, as we change what is important to us, what we find acceptable, what is healthy and normal for us, what we've decided based on what we read, what we watch, that can all change. So if you have a partner who is changing with you, that will continue to be a long-term thing, whether it's good, whether it's bad. it will continue to be a long-term thing. What seems to happen a lot on both ends, either the partner grows with or the partner doesn't grow with. Maybe and it's in different areas. So if you're growing in your financial side of things, but not growing in your emotional and mental health and spiritual health or whatever, or your physical health is taking a toll, because you're so focused on financial. If your partner is saying, well, I don't care as much about the financial, I'd rather have the mental health, the emotional health, the spiritual health, or the physical health, or whatever it is, you're growing apart in that aspect. So same thing goes. Like if you, let's say you decide that being healthy is important to you, and you grow in the physical aspect, of your healthy self. If your partner doesn't, if it's not important to your partner, you guys are going to grow apart in that area. So there's going to be each one of these areas as you grow or don't grow, as your partner grows or doesn't grow, you guys will grow together, or you'll grow apart, or you'll stay the same, depending on each of the areas where it all mixes up and what is acceptable overall with each of those things. So you're interacting, and this goes for whether it's intimate, whether it's not intimate, in each of the relationships you have. People, whether you're adding value or another person is adding value, or you just are, you guys are just being. So in intimate relationships, if at one point, so let's say you've been in a relationship for a long time, you guys have been committed to each other, and everyone's just working to make themselves happy. There are no bad people. Everyone is just working to make themselves happy. The thing that makes anything good or bad is how you perceive it, right? So if someone is working to make themselves happy in a certain way, whether consciously or unconsciously, whether it has social, if socially it's accepted or not accepted, whatever it is, if it's accepted by you or not accepted by you, regardless, this person, whoever it is, doing whatever it is they're just in some form or fashion trying to make themselves happy. So with that interaction with you, if this person on the other end of this relationship, in some aspect, in some area of life, is trying to make themselves happy, and it is not something that you find to be something that they should be doing, because you say, for me, this is not what makes me happy. I don't understand why you are trying to do this. The first step is sitting back and saying, okay, why is it that I find this unacceptable? Right? It's recognizing this person in some aspect is just trying to make themselves happy. Why am I unhappy with this particular choice that they're making? Right? So once you sit back and you analyze that, setting that aside, whether you agree or don't agree with it, as far as unconditional love is concerned, you say, I recognize that this person is just trying to make themselves happy. Regardless of how I feel about it, I recognize that that's what you're doing. I love you either way. I'm going to treat you with respect, with dignity. I'm going to clearly communicate with you, hey, I love you unconditionally. I don't particularly agree with what you're doing. It upsets me for these reasons. I've analyzed why it upsets me, and what I would like from our interaction. And at that point, once you've reflected why it upsets you, and you've communicated it, then there are a few things that are going to happen. So we're gonna step back for a second as far as why something upsets you. So let's say this person is out there. You guys were in a committed relationship, in the aspect of I'm only with you and you're only with me. Sometimes that's communicated clearly and agreed upon. Sometimes it's just an unspoken, because socially that's pretty norm. So people don't necessarily speak about it. So looking at it, sometimes people choose that because of religious reasons. Sometimes people choose that because of, that's what their parents did, whatever, socially, it's the norm. So, I've had in my personal life where this has happened to me. And the thing that upsets me is not, when someone is out doing that stuff and working to make themselves happy. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with, and what I've communicated to people, and actually there's one person in particular that I communicated, like, hey, all you had to do was say, hey, here's how I feel, and here's what I want, here's what I'm wanting to try and explore and do, and just giving me the option to continue to participate in that relationship, instead of giving me the option and having open and honest communication about their wants and needs. They made the choice for me and decided for themselves that I couldn't handle it and that I would leave. So they went ahead and did it behind my back. Well, what ended up happening is they created exactly what it was that they thought was going to happen by lying to me. So instead of, because I actually, I'm very, I have different views than most people do. Like, if you want to go out and do stuff, whatever it is that you want to do to make you happy, you are more than welcome to go do. Just be honest with me. Just communicate it. Just say, hey, here's what I want to do. And I'll say, okay, there's your actions and my actions might change. Our interaction might change. But we're still going to hang out. We're still going to be best friends. We're still going to, whatever, because, even if we're not intimate still, while you're out doing that, we're still going to be interacting and hanging out and communicating and having a good time and being honest and in truth with each other. So a lot of people can't handle that, because I've also done where I've said, hey, here's what I would like, here's what and that the other person on the other side was like, that hurts my feelings. I don't particularly appreciate that. And they stopped talking to me. And that's okay, because I was at a point where I was not wanting to participate in the same way that I wanted to participate previously. And I gave them the option. I said, hey, here's the deal. Right? So anyway, whatever the reason is that this other person in this relationship is doing what they're doing to make themselves happy, or you're doing what you're doing to make yourself happy, it's being open and honest and saying, why is it, what am I looking for in this? Okay. So then once you figure out what you're looking for and you've honestly communicated it and you understand, or you have an idea of why you're doing the things you're doing, and you communicate to that person, they then have a choice, right? So here's the choice. Either I'm cool with it, I accept it, and we stay together. I'm not cool with it, I don't accept it, and we stay together. I'm cool with it, I accept it, and we go our separate ways. Or I'm not cool with it, I don't accept it, and we go our separate ways. So what happens within those choices, whether you stay together or whether you go apart, what happens is whether you accept it and are cool with it or not, or don't accept it or are cool with it, that's an internal thing. So being happy, being in joy, in peace, in understanding, love, wisdom, all that stuff is a choice. So whether or not you are going to continue to be with this person, whether or not you are going to be separate from this person, has nothing to do with your internal environment, right? You have a choice. If you at some point decided, I love this person unconditionally, it doesn't matter what the F they do. It does not matter. What matters is how you choose to respond and not react. Don't take anything personally, because just remember, everybody at any point is just trying to make themselves happy. Some people unconsciously are trying to make themselves happy at your expense because of whatever reasons from the past that they've had positive, quote unquote, positive responses from doing something negative, seemingly negative to another person, whatever the reason is, whatever the circumstances is, however it can be interpreted, at the end of the day, they're just trying to make themselves happy, whether consciously or unconsciously. So if you recognize that, it will greatly influence how you respond versus reacting. Because a lot of people, when they do that kind of stuff, they're looking for a reaction because, either they feel bad about themselves and they want to justify why they feel bad about themselves. So like, hey, I'm going to do this action so that you'll react poorly towards me and call me names or do whatever it is, so that way, it'll justify the internal talk that they're having with themselves, the dialogue that they're having with themselves, and subconsciously will make them happy on some level. It's justifying all the thoughts and the self-talk that they have about themselves. So at the end of the day, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's seemingly positive, seemingly negative, whatever it is, this individual on the other side is working to make themselves happy. So in that, you can understand that there are no bad people. Just bad decisions over time, over a long period of time, starting from childhood, from the very moment they were born, they were being taught, this is how to be a good human, right? So if their parents were unconscious about stuff, if their parents were fighting, if their parents were cheating on each other, if their parents were, drinking and out partying, if their parents were sitting at home or uber religious or hard workers, whatever it is that their parents are doing. So this is something to keep in mind as you are being a parent and in a relationship. Whatever it is that their parents were doing, that's going to be the litmus test for what is normal and what is acceptable and the path to make yourself happy, right? So knowing that each of those things is being programmed into your subconscious as a child, that is going to greatly influence you in every decision that you make, and that you're going to have to break that programming in whatever aspect if you want to change anything that you like or don't like about yourself. As you are going through a situation like this where you are communicating and interacting and doing whatever it is you're doing, all the thoughts, all the words, all the actions associated with your relationship when you have kids are going to determine what they are going to find acceptable. So as let's say, for example, that your partner has decided that they are going to go out and get another boyfriend, and maybe they've clearly communicated to you like, hey, I'm not happy with our relationship, but I'm going to stay with you because of the kids, but I'm going to go out and get another boyfriend. And you find that unacceptable. Whether you find that unacceptable doesn't matter. That person is just trying to make themselves happy. So at that point, as they're trying to make themselves happy, whether it's selfish or not selfish, whether, whatever social label you can put on it, doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel about it, how you react to it and respond to it, and what your kids are going to see. If you're getting angry, if you're getting depressed, if you are resenting stuff, if there's a lot of negative thought, if you're having internal dialogue that's very negative and even... So it starts in your mind. If you're having internal dialogue that is negative, what's going to end up happening is eventually those thoughts and those words are going to come out. So when somebody says something, you're going to respond based on what you consistently think, because that's what's at the forefront of your mind. That's what's at the top. At the top, the most readily available words and emotions are going to be what you grab hold of. If you imagine it as a bag, so you've got your bag of responses, huge bag of responses, right? And there is everything from unconditional love to absolute bitter hatred that is in this bag, right? So maybe the hatred is, you could remove it from the bag. I don't know, I'm just like making this up off the top of my head, right? So whatever is at the top, everything's floating around in there. Whatever you use the most, whatever response you use the most, whatever thoughts you use the most, whatever is in there the most is going to be the first thing. When you reach into, whenever a situation happens and it really just, it knocks you off your center, your normal equilibrium, and you reach in the bag of responses to determine, here's how I'm going to respond to a situation. Just the first thing that you grab is going to be whatever it is that's at the top. So whatever you're consistently doing, you're pulling out and putting back in the bag, pulling out, putting back in the bag. Whatever is at the top is what's coming out first. So if you have internal dialogue that is negative, that you're talking smack, you're having conversations like this freaking bee, this freaking hoe bag, or whatever it is that you're saying in your head, like how dare she, you know, that's what's going to come out. So when your kids, like when you're talking to people around you, that's what you're going to be saying to them. Like, you know, you may not be saying it, but your energy says it. So your kids are picking up, okay, in a situation, if this happens, if somebody does something that I don't agree with, I'm gonna be negative towards them. I'm gonna be angry towards them. I'm gonna be depressed about the situation. I'm allowing this outside situation to influence how I feel. And your kids are like, okay, that's normal. So when an outside situation that I don't agree with happens, I'm gonna be depressed. I'm gonna allow that to affect me. I'm gonna, you know, get divorced. Like whatever it is that is happening, your kids are absorbing. This is what is setting the norm for them. So if you would like to teach your children what unconditional love looks like, you gotta be that. It's so, but it's also not, it's not. So you also have to love yourself, right? You decide what's acceptable for me. What's acceptable for me, you sit down, you write down, okay, this is what I wish to have for my future. So go into affirmations. You write, here's how I see my future. You know, and you program these positive I am statements into your everyday. You work it in, you say, I am this, I am that. This is what I would like to be. So if that includes your partner as they are currently, if that includes the choices that they're making, if that includes them continuing to be someone that you live with, great. If it doesn't, great. You decide what you want and you work towards it. But you do that in love, in understanding, in calm surrender with the situation, because again, you don't take it personally because it's not about you. Even if you think it's about you, even if your partner is working to make it seem like it's about you, it's never about you. They're doing it to make themselves happy. Maybe at your expense, maybe not at your expense. Either way, it's not about you. And if you make it about you, it's going to be about you, right? Because you're going to respond in a certain way and then you're going to create an enemy. There's no need to create enemies. People are just making choices to make themselves happy. So the way to get around that is once you sit down and you write down what's important to you and what you'd like to be and what you'd like to demonstrate to your kids, what you'd like to demonstrate to all the people who are in your circle of influence, like this is who I am no matter what happens to me, and you act accordingly. So if it's important to you to demonstrate unconditional love, regardless of somebody, so you say, I still love you, I find it unacceptable, I'm going to move on from this, but I'm going to talk positively about you. You know, I'm going to say, hey, kids, you know, we're talking openly and honestly. You know, so if you can have the conversation between each other in love over a period of time, then you can honestly sit down with your kids in love, in honesty, in truth, and say, hey, here's what's going on. Mom feels this certain way about life, wants to make these choices. I love her and accept her. You know, it's not particularly what I want, but that's what she wants. And it's okay. She is more than welcome to make decisions that make her happy, just as you kids are more than welcome to make decisions that make you happy. Here's how I want to live, and here's what I'm doing with my life, and here's the influence that I would like to be over you. The only person that I'm responsible is for me. And the only way that I can demonstrate what I think a good life looks like to you kids is by being it. Whether your partner agrees with you or not doesn't matter. It'd be cool if they agree, but the idea is that if you start acting out of anger, resentment, and all of this, it's only going to push you and your partner further apart. Whereas when they act and do things that you don't particularly agree with, if you respond out of love and you give them space to be who they want to be, guess what? They're going to come back to you, homie. Like, they're going to be like, oh, I'm welcome to be who I want to be, and not be judged and not be hated and, not be made out to be this horrible person. Maybe I should act accordingly. People are going to act however you treat them. So, and even if you're not with them long term, intimately, they're your kid's mother. You're going to have to be around them long term. And unfortunately, some people are going to be stuck in that loop. The loop, that you've outgrown, that once was okay with you, that you've now decided is not okay with you. Even if you've outgrown, that person is always going to be around, right? And what's going to end up happening is they're going to go on into the future, and they're going to be in a relationship that is, whatever it is. And no matter what, if you choose your proper response in unconditional love, in the long term, that is going to be seen as the ultimate truth. Regardless of what happens, your kids are going to see it. That partner is eventually going to see it, whether they're with you or not. And your future partner. So if you say, hey, this is not acceptable to me, and you move on from that, because that's who you are, and you are in love and responding in love, you are going to find, like attracts like. You are going to move on from that old partner, and you are going to find a new partner who mirrors that. So regardless of what happens, you are going to attract what it is that you are. So respond in love no matter what. Determine what's important to you, what you want to teach your kids, and be that. No matter what. Don't take stuff personally. Be impeccable with your word. This is all stuff from The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Do your best in every moment. Don't beat yourself up, because maybe something that this person does gets to you, and you allow yourself to slip a little bit. Just continue to improve every day. Every day, continue to improve. And the last agreement, which for whatever reason, don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. That is super important, because, like, let's say your partner is acting a certain way and you're recognizing patterns from the past. So in a past relationship, maybe somebody was cheating on you, and there's pain associated with that in your brain, because it's got the autopilot function to recognize that stuff and send out warning signs, recognizes it, and you say in your mind, without talking to your partner in honesty and love and truth, you just make assumptions. All that does is that programs that this is who your partner is, and you've decided without actually confirming or, whatever, and it's influencing your behavior for future interactions. That's no bueno either. So, yeah. So that's that. I can continue talking about stuff, but I think the basis is unconditional love, man. My dudes, hopefully whoever's out there dealing with some stuff, I wish upon you the best, that you find truth in love, find yourself in center, be complete in yourself, determine what is important to you, be that person no matter what, no matter who's around you, and eventually the people who are meant for you are going to find you, and the people who are not meant for you are going to fall away naturally. There's no need to be angry. There's no need to hate. There's no need to put people down or try to make yourself look better. You don't have to talk crap about your partner. You don't have to tell your kids that they're a piece of shit, because all that's doing, when kids may not pick up on this, maybe they do, but what happens long term when you reflect, maybe you'll figure it out a month from now, 2 months from now, but when somebody's talking smack about somebody else, you realize all the stuff that you are saying, or that someone else is saying bad about somebody else, is just letting you know what they are about. So little people put people down. And even saying that, I'm like, I don't even want to say this statement, because, I don't want to seem like a little person. When I always have a running dialogue of, of my interactions. There's a filter that I have established based on, knowing that every word that I say is powerful. Everything that comes out of my mouth is powerful. I create my reality through what I think, what I say, and every interaction. When people are sitting making fun of somebody, if I have something that seems funny but it's at somebody else's expense, I keep it to myself. I don't like jumping on the bandwagon. I'd rather be the person that says, hey guys, don't make fun of that person. Even if the thought pops in my head to say something, I keep it to myself. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say it, because later on down the road, all that stuff accumulates. All that stuff accumulates, and that becomes who people see you as. So if you're the person who's always saying stuff at other people's expense, eventually you're going to be that guy that people are going to realize, oh, this person's always talking smack about other people. Whether true or not true, whether, whatever it is that you're saying, and as far as with your kids are going to think it's okay to talk smack about people. They're going to think, it's okay to, it'll make me look better to put this person down or whatever. So I'll use as an example. Got a friend who's actually one of the guys who's going through this stuff. He always talks smack about his son's teachers. It's like these teachers are a bunch of morons, and da 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 da. And he says this while the kid is in the room or in the other room in earshot, and then he's surprised. Then he's surprised when the kid is acting, not listening to the teachers and talking back to the teachers and acting like the teachers are morons. It's because he hears you saying this and he thinks that everything that you say is gold. And it's like, oh, well, if Dad's saying it, it must be true. And I want to make my dad proud, so I'm going to act like these teachers are a bunch of fucking morons. And then, and then Dad's surprised, like, I can't understand why he's acting up. Like, hello. And it's hard to have that conversation, because I don't have kids. I'm not in a relationship currently, so talking to people about relationships, talking to people about their kids, it's difficult. People don't take you seriously. But I was a kid once, and I know what I thought and I felt based on my parents' interactions, based on, just as I've grown up. I remember thinking and feeling some of these things that, your parents think that you're not aware, and you talk to them later like, oh, you remember that? Like, yeah, like, you're too young to remember that. No, I'm a smart kid. I was a smart kid. I still am a smart kid. Like you don't realize what your kids are perceiving because a lot of people don't talk about it. You don't realize what's going on, or you forget a lot of it. But kids are sponges, man. Whatever it is that you are saying, whatever it is that you are doing, your kids are going to try and mirror that. So be the best you can be. And yeah. Think of the children. Anyway, later, dudes.